希望當我哋去到運動，我哋會獲得我哋民主政制嘅時候，我哋係可以笑住去睇黃子華講，睇黃子華話呢個政府。
We're live again with Josh Wong on stage. He's the 17-year-old young man who's been kind of a leader in the protests here in Hong Kong. And we have James Bang on the ground in Hong Kong. And I'm Jamie Nelson.
如果我哋今日放棄，我哋係真係向呢個政府認輸。所以都希望我哋知道未來喺每一個佔領區嘅路口，都會可能有唔同嘅人嚟騷擾，唔同嘅人嚟干擾。希望大家都好似黃之鋒頭先呼籲咁樣，我哋一人一帳幕，去鎮守唔同嘅關口，去鎮守我哋嘅廣場，守護香港，守護我哋嘅未來。加油！加油！加油！咁啊，我先喺呢度咧，即係必須要做個補充。Alex 咧，佢今晚咧嗰個黃子華之約咧，係約咗佢嘅女朋友。點解你要係補充？其實咧，聽完周永康係有女朋友，聽完大家同黃之鋒唱生日歌，又聽到岑敖暉講玩雀仔之後咧，作為中年人嘅三子咧，其實冇咩好講嘅已經。唔想學生，聽民主，聽啱咗。今朝早咧，其實見到用黑社會去清我哋嘅鐵馬嘅時候咧，即使我哋中年人咧，同年青人一樣啦，都係非常之憤怒。點解唔好好地回應我哋咁多市民嘅訴求，走去清我哋啲鐵馬咧？兩個幾禮拜啦，政府做過咩咧？邊個同我哋講清楚？鎮壓我哋市民嘅真相係乜嘢咧？有啦！邊個官員唔當自己係局外人？冇一個人願意承擔佢哋嘅責任，係咪啊？我哋知道民主唔會聽朝就嚟，但係呢一次嘅政改，整個錯誤係源於我哋特區政府第一個報告，完全扭曲民意。到今日，如果我哋要重開政改，政府提唔提到個路線圖俾我？有冇誠意啊？連同學生對話都龜縮，呢個係咩政府？可恥！拆路障做乜嘢？點解唔會面對我哋問題嘅核心？今日乜嘢係真正路障？呢個就係官商勾結造成嘅小圈子，佢哋佔領咗我哋立法會，佔領咗我哋特首位置，係咪啊？佢哋就係令到我哋冇辦法變成一個公義同埋仁愛社會嘅最佳路障，係咪啊？我哋爭取民主，就係要移走呢個路障。我哋唔係要黑社會嚟清我哋嘅路障，係咪？琴晚我哋好多團體同每一個走路障嘅村民討論，要唔要開金鐘道？其實每個人都好理性去諗呢個問題。我哋知道政府而家用 call 字決，想 call 死我哋，用民怨去壓死我哋，所以有啲村民覺得開咗金鐘路 減低民怨，我哋可以持續抗爭。但係另一啲人覺得政府2個禮拜以來一啲誠意都冇，步步進擊，我點可以退啊？兩個説法其實都有道理，我哋尊重兩個唔同睇法，所以經過好長時間討論，最後尾已經願意係釋出善意。政府如果交還呢個公民廣場，我哋願意開呢條路，呢個係琴晚嘅決定。但係政府今日就即刻回應話呢件事係冇可能，可唔可以？唔俾我哋攞翻公民廣場，呢個大家望一望，同呢個門常開係咪互相矛盾啊？政府嘅權力係嚟自人民㗎。如果要將呢個公民廣場刪咗，係個意思係咪要長遠與民為敵啊？我哋中國人嘅智慧好早已經知道，民意好似洪水咁樣，你只可以疏導，唔可以堵截。佢能夠重開公民廣場，其實係同我哋社會一個大和解嘅姿勢。但係今日話，如果開咗個廣場，會有群眾聚集，跟住會帶嚟政局嘅危機。佢知唔知道？只有同個社會和解，先至能夠真真正正化解政府嘅危機啊！stupid，醜嘅，教育好少咁樣講嘅，我從來唔會講我學生錯，因為每個學生我都覺得有得救啊！但係呢個政府冇得救啊！我哋需要大家固守我哋而家據點，互相喺守望。我哋會盡全力去守護住我啲要塞。但我喺呢度懇求大家，我今日見到個情景我都好感動。當黑社會嚟啦，當啲所謂社團嚟嗰陣時候，短兵相接嗰陣時候，我哋嘅年青人去到最近距離，亦都係舉高雙手，話俾佢哋聽，我哋係和平嘅抗爭者，我哋向佢哋致敬。和平呢個係我哋嘅底線，亦都係我哋最高嘅一點。我哋希望大家在場每人舉高雙手，話俾佢哋聽，我哋係和平抗爭者，我哋唔似你啲黑社會暴徒毀壞緊我哋香港，我哋每一個都係和平嘅抗爭者。多謝。只要我哋堅持民主，只要我哋堅持愛與和平，我哋今日或者輸咗嘅時馬，但係我哋會贏到全世界對我哋嘅尊重，係咪？大家係歌手喎。
大家開口嘅時候都
我都第一次即係識咗 Lesa 咁耐，第一次聽佢講話阿 Alex 有女朋友，佢語氣真係酸溜溜喎，識咗好耐。
我覺得喺而家咁危急嘅情況之下咧，即係我哋都係要兒女之情嗰啲咧，暫且放埋一邊啦。
咁我哋對岸咧，其實唔單止香港嘅朋友係好關注呢一個運動啦，對岸咧都有好多朋友係好關注呢個運動。
記得琴晚咧，我哋有 幾位響台灣曾經參與太陽花學運嘅醫療隊嘅義工嚟到。咁啊，我一路都掛住佢哋送俾我哋嘅一個黃色皮製嘅鎖匙扣，一個黃絲帶嘅鎖匙扣。喺今晚，我哋有來自台灣嘅聲音，林飛帆。
非凡，然后目前其实我知道说现在还有很多这个香港朋友还在街头上面奋斗跟努力，那现在已经11天的时间过去了，那我们依然看到的是港府没有正面的去回应各位的诉求，那当然这一点是我们相当遗憾的地方。那同时我们也觉得说，就是其实有非常多的朋友希望能够进入到香港声援这波运动，但是碍于我们现在非常多的伙伴是因为港签被拒因为港签被拒绝，所以没有办法去香港跟各位站在一起。那这是我们非常遗憾的地方。那我们也知道说这几天下来有非常多的这些所谓反战中的人士，那甚至港府跟这个警方动用一些黑道的力量去干预这个战中的运动。那我们也要请所有这个香港的朋友，请每务必要保重自己的这个人身安全。那希望运动跟我们都是够。香港跟台湾的命运是所谓命运与共，那我们共同对到我们的敌人是无疑就是现在整个中国的中共的政权。那我们希望未来能够有更多和香港的朋友一起交流，跟甚至互相支持打气的机会。那期待有一天在香港民主化、香港自由的那一天，我们能够和香港朋友站在一起，能够在香港和各位同工，跟各位相见。那希望我们的运动都能够成功，香港加油！
簡單講翻你阿飛凡頭先嘅發言咧，就最主要佢哋喺台灣嗰邊嘅朋友咧，一路都好留意香港今次嘅運動嘅發展。佢哋都要留意到今日，因為呢條西帶應該係今日晏晝嘅時候會新聞嚟俾我哋，亦都留意到就係有黑勢力、有黑道嘅人咧，就係即係騷擾我哋嘅和平嘅正面嘅市民。飛凡提到台灣同香港咧。係命運與共嘅一個兩岸嘅地方，我哋其實共同都係面對緊中央政府中共。
So it's approaching 9 p.m. here Monday evening in Hong Kong local time, and there's been a rally held by Joshua Wong and other student leaders explaining the situation here today, where police attempted to remove, and they did remove, several barricades from some of the outskirt areas, pushing in the Occupy protesters, almost squeezing them towards the Admiralty centre point. And the students were just explaining what happened today, how after the police removed the barriers in the morning, there were thugs who, according to Joshua Wong, are triad members in collusion with the police, who were sent here in the afternoon to clear up the area, and they removed many barricades, caused a lot of chaos. They've hurt a lot of students as well, who were kicked and punched in the ensuing melee. And what he's saying is there's no way it can be a coincidence that in the morning the government were attempting to remove all the barricades, and later that afternoon a few hundred organized thugs wearing the same symmetrical masks came through, along with a whole bunch of taxi drivers, almost like a coordinated meeting around 2 to 3 o'clock this afternoon.
Well, there's certainly a lot more people out there now than there were 12 hours ago or so when we were reporting.
The Admiralty right now is packed. There are tens of thousands of people here. It's very hard to move. We're near the center. As you can see, the people here stretched all around, all the way down to the very end.
佢都喺嗰場入邊，佢見到你嗰啲可能我哋有啲男生入邊，但係其實入邊人更加多數。當時佢喺嗰場特別是佢影住佢，嗰入邊落嚟，都行過咗。
Try panning the camera a little slower, James.
佢話：佢並唔係驚，佢覺得好感動，佢覺得。點解？點解要嗰個保護嗰個因為既然要去傷害嗰個，佢冇可能嗰場外面幾多班嘅市民同埋學生，你警察差咗呢啲人口。
Now, did the police hold to their word earlier of not clearing out those barricades?
如果嗰啲警察一路今日見到呢一班警察，佢會明白，佢嗰時當時嗰個所教嘅學生。I
don't think James can hear us at the moment. He might be having some audio problems.
So the main rally is over now. A lot of people are leaving.
James, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay. Did the police hold to their word and not clear out those barricades like they said they would earlier, about 12 hours ago?
Well, actually, when you were sleeping, that was when all the action happened. All these paid thugs came by, and we actually missed the main action. Oh, you know, there was this full group of organized thugs that came through here, a couple hundred of them. At the same time, there were a bunch of taxi drivers lined up, barricading the streets, honking the horns. I mean, it was utter chaos. I just wish someone was actually online so we could have showed that. But, yeah, I tried to set up a live stream on my own, and I had no success, because it turns out you actually need a computer open at the same time. So... But what I was able to do was record some of the clips, so I'll upload those onto YouTube.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to...
I know, and there was just no one. We were looking for anyone on WCN just to catch, because I was in the middle of the scene right there, where all these thugs were approaching with knives and cutters. I mean, it would have been great to have shown that, but... yeah, so I guess when the police said they were done for the day, that wasn't really true. It was very insincere and disgenuine, which is a point that Joshua Wong made as well, saying that the police basically lied in the morning when they said they were done. Because later that afternoon, they began clearing more barricades in other areas.
Well, we saw them with all that riot gear and stuff. I mean, they were obviously dressed with a full loadout of riot gear, and I mean there were thousands of police out. There was more than a 10-to-1 ratio of police to protesters. And they came out and said that they weren't gonna, you know, they had that nice looking sweet voice saying over the loudspeaker, oh, it's okay, we're going to just stand here and leave you alone.
So the police have cleared some areas out successfully, and what the students have done is they're actually reinforcing the barricades and building even stronger and larger structures now. So I'm just going to take you across to the other side, where we can see some of the reinforced barricades that they have made.
Have you run into Kaka or anybody recently that could help you out over there?
No, I haven't seen anyone here today.
It would have been nice if you could get us or me at WCN somebody contact information for somebody else in Hong Kong. That
set it up myself, but it turns out you actually need someone in front of a computer, right? So it's impossible for me to set it up myself. So I do need someone in front of a computer remotely. I actually had my laptop with me, and that didn't work as well. But
yeah, well, I'm gonna work on trying to figure out how you can do it directly from your
right,
phone.
you don't want to miss, any of the good stuff. And actually, unfortunately, today we missed probably the highlight of the day when a few hundred of those thugs came down in Admiralty.
Yeah, I think you could probably do it direct to from your phone on your own YouTube channel. It wouldn't go direct to WCN. But I will experiment with that today, and we'll see if we can get that sorted out so we can get you so you can just go live at a moment's notice.
Right, that would have been really helpful, yeah. But we're just headed to the front here, where the protesters were really busy earlier, recreating the barricades the police removed. But this time, they've been a lot more creative. They've made the barricade a lot larger and elaborate. They've used bamboos to reinforce it, as well as many different materials. So we're just going to show you what they've done here.
Yeah, and it was incredible. Our broadcast yesterday or last night was, I guess it was morning in Hong Kong. We had over 1,700 views directly on YouTube, not including our simulcast. So that was our largest viewing audience so far. So we are really getting out there, and people are seeing what we're doing here. So that's really encouraging to see those kind of numbers when we're doing this broadcast, because it is really hard work for James and I. It's just us two working on it. We don't have people behind the scenes really helping. Sumitra is working on it, doing the time stamping and stuff, but there's no production team, like and all of those people. They have hundreds of students and stuff working behind the scenes, doing all the back end stuff. And for me and James, it's just us and a computer and a couple cell phones trying to bring this to you live. So, and if you can support the show or some bitcoins, we'd really appreciate it. The cell phone bills and stuff get kind of high.
Whoa, so this is impressive. I haven't been back here in about an hour, but just within that hour you can see how much bigger this structure has become. It's no longer just a few barricades. There's barricades with rubbish bins, with wooden reinforcements, bamboo reinforcements. I mean, this structure is solid. They can try and bring in another crane, but I doubt they'll be able to pick this up as easy as they took away the barricades this morning. This is some quality work you're seeing here.
See, if they made something like that here, they would just bust through it with a snowplow.
This is actually bamboo, right? Solid bamboo, which is really, really strong. It's the strongest material they could have used. It's stronger than metal. So I do think they've been very clever to reinforce the barricade with bamboo. It should help.
Yeah, bamboo is very flexible too. It's almost like it's almost like fiberglass or carbon fiber for its flexibility and tensile strength.
Right, and I think this is quite clever. Large wooden panels to block any kind of pepper spray or water cannons.
Well, it also blocks the view, so the police can't see what's going on the other side. Because being able to see is a huge part of what you're doing.
Right, and right outside here, there's a huge crowd that's gathered. I'm not sure why, but we are going to take a closer look and see why there's such a large crowd here. So you can see these large bamboo structures are all laid on the floor. And I guess the people are here because they want to help. They're creating a giant bamboo barricade reinforced by these plastic things we've seen.
Zip ties.
Zip ties. I can't get that word. Zip ties. Thanks. So they're reinforcing it with zip ties and what looks like clear wrap.
Oh yeah, that's shrink wrap. That's the shrink wrap. They use that in shipping crates and pallets. So when you put boxes on a pallet, so when you ship them, they don't slide off. You wrap it's like saran wrap. You just wrap the whole pallet with that, and then it holds the boxes together.
Right. So it's there's many volunteers helping to build this structure. It's not one or two, but it looks like 20 or 30 people are working hand in hand to build this. Really, it looks like it's going to be quite amazing by the time they're done with it. Because there's plenty more bamboo here. And this is just
I wonder where they got all the bamboo.
Right, and this is just the first line, right? We've seen the second line about 10 meters back. So they're building multiple reinforcements right now.
See, and building these strong reinforcements like this, I think is going to cause the police are going to end up bringing out some heavy machinery or something to clear it.
Right, today they bought cranes and they just lifted the barricades. This, they won't be able to do that. They're going to have to smash it first, so they might, I don't know, what would they use?
Well, like I said, here they just use a snowplow and they just drive right through it. But over there,
sitting in front of it and behind it.
What's that?
It wouldn't work here, because here you'll have students sitting in front and behind the structure.
But the thing is, they either get out of the way or they get squished. And finally, what it comes down to finally in a situation like that, if the police are determined to clear that, or if the military wants to clear that out, the protesters are nothing when it comes towards a tank or whatever. We've seen rare occasions where one person has stopped a tank, but I mean, a tank or a truck or something will just run a person over or run several people over and kill them.
So this isn't the main Occupy area. However, students are now on this road. There are many more of them on this road sleeping tonight, which there were none yesterday, because police have attempted to clear this area of Admiralty. So you're going to see a lot more people sleeping on this street tonight, where you see there are like no tents. But I predict by tomorrow morning there'll be a lot of tents in this area in Queensway.
And from my experience, if I was, when I was in the military and stuff, if I was one of the police or somebody that was sent in to clear that out, if a protester was sitting there and if they were, you know, they had those barricades up and my job was to clear that out, the protesters, they would have either had to have moved or I would have ran them over. Because that's the mentality that they drive into people that do those jobs.
Now this one is very special. This bamboo barricade is more developed than the other one that we see. And this one, they've actually used public rubbish bins, the orange rubbish cans, to put the bamboo straight through the middle of them, going into it.
Those rubbish bins remind me of the little Android thing for Android phones.
Right. But it doesn't cover the entire road. So I don't quite see the point of this structure, because there's a gap that's big.
唔該，呢個會唔會整到嗰度？唔會嘅，唔會嘅。唔會㗎，咁會唔好用啦？唔係㗎，呢個應該係留翻條緊急數俾任何消防車或者佢哋用。不過咁警察會好容易先到喎。所以呢度會另外揾人手咁咯，應該就。唔該。
So they don't have the intention to actually block it all the way across. They will leave this lane for emergency vehicles. But
Okay.
kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it, if you've got this huge structure and this huge gap?
Yeah, the strategies on both sides of this this protest are just really strange to me.
Right. And right in front of here, you'll actually see protesters sitting down because there's a human police chain right ahead. So they're only about 10 meters ahead of where the protesters are sitting on the floor.
I'd say there's about 35, 40 of them standing there, maybe up to 50.
Yeah, there's actually a lot more. They do stretch out.
Makes it look like more when they're separated by a little bit of space.
And the police were actually not present here before, but I believe after they're seeing the reinforcements re-put up by the students, so they've kind of come out here as a show of force almost. Like, you know what, you want to rebuild that structure? Well, we're going to come out again. Because they were actually gone. When these structures were taken down, police had actually left. So it's very surprising that they're back here again. And I believe it's in retaliation of the students rebuilding the barricades.
Yeah, it could be, but you know, it's still odd that they've taken down some of the barricades that was earlier. You know, what was it? They started at 7 o'clock in the morning, and they started taking down some of the barricades. They cleared out a few of them. You know, they had thousands of police out in full riot gear, and they were clearing the barricades. Now there's a few barricades left, and they're rebuilding the barricades on the protesters' side, and there's a bunch of police, and they're just standing there, kind of like, you know, well, okay, now we're going to just do it all over again.
Right.
It seems like both sides really, you know, the protesters are determined that they're going to keep a presence there, and the police just don't really know what to do.
Yep.
And it seems to me that every time the police do something, the protest just flares up again. If the police were to just leave it alone, I think the protest would probably just die out and go away.
Let this movement fizzle out, right?
What's that?
That's what we've seen basically tonight. That's why there were thousands of people at that rally. It was after the action they took this morning in clearing these barricades that resulted in thousands of people coming out here at night. So you're very right.
And it's like, if the police just left them alone for, you know, 4 or 5 days, this would have been over by now, I think. But the police come out and they do something.
Every time momentum seems to die down, they seem to do something stupid, right? And it reignites the public. And that's just been a common theme that we've seen over and over again. And so by today, by attempting to clear these barricades, especially when announcing they're done for the day, and a few hours later they have more activities, then these thugs show up, these taxi drivers show up, and these blue ribbon people show up. It's just what people are saying is that's too much of a coincidence to be separate incidents, right? They're saying this was definitely coordinated or planned or worked together with the government and some of these other parties that are disrupting the Occupy protesters.
Yeah, and like I've said in the past, it's like morons playing chess. It's like playing chess with somebody and they pick up their knight and start sucking on it. And it's like, what the hell are you doing? It's just such stupid strategy that it's so ridiculous what they're doing. And that, I guess it's keeping us with something to do covering this, but it's almost like just get it over with already. Just leave them alone and let it die out and see where it goes. But they keep coming in every few days and doing something stupid to reignite it.
Yeah, and that's just been the theme of this Occupy Hong Kong protest, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Today is Monday. If they had waited maybe 3-4 days, towards Wednesday, Thursday, I think popularity, support for this movement would have really waned or dwindled. Instead, they've gone ahead and attempted to remove barricades. Thugs showed up in Admiralty, and everyone's rallied again behind the students once again. So.
Yep, it's about the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And yeah, I don't know what this deal with the thugs and stuff are. If that was a coordinated attack or whatever, that takes.
There's no doubt it was, because there were at least 100 of them, all wearing the same surgical masks. They had these gang-like tattoos with these, with gang-like haircuts almost, long hair, colored. They weren't ordinary citizens, right? It was like a big organized group of thugs that came by with scissors and cutters. You tell me those are individual citizens who came on their own accord with scissors and cutters and the same surgical mask? I'll eat my own shoe.
Yeah. Well, we kind of know the history of, Beijing's ties with the triads and stuff, so it's really not surprising that they would use them. It's just surprising the timing.
Right. So the barricades were actually originally positioned where you see the headlights, right? Do you see behind the offices where the headlights are?
Yes.
So that's where the barricades were, and the freeway up there, the cars were not running. But what they've done is they've opened up the space behind, and they've allowed cars now to freely travel down this freeway. So they're slowly opening up areas bit by bit. I believe that was their tactic. Let's open up this zone, open up that zone gradually over the course of the week, right?
Yeah.
However, I think the students are now onto them, and instead they're now reinforcing every single exit.
And, this morning when we were looking at this, we had the businessmen just walking down the freeway there, down the highway in their suits and briefcases going to work. That was interesting, just, all these businessmen just walking right down the highway.
I mean, that was
going to work.
I mean, these are guys in their business suits, with their briefcases, walking on a highway to work where they'd normally be in a private car or something.
Yeah, they'd be normally driving their Mercedes or something, and here they were just walking down the highway, and it was probably just as fast.
Yeah, that was quite a sight, wasn't it?
It's really remarkable, though, how they're building these structures out of the bamboo and stuff. It's you can build some pretty nice buildings and stuff out of bamboo. There's, in your part of the world there, and in the islands in that part of the world, there's a lot of buildings made out of bamboo, like, you know, huts and things that you see in the island areas around there. I really like those rubbish bins. I want one of those. I want to paint it up like an android.
I'll see if I can send you one over. I'll try and take one after they're done with them.
Somebody please send Jamie an android rubbish bin.
So as you can see, they're actually wrapping the rubbish bin with the cling foil that you mentioned.
Yeah, that stuff is very strong, but if you have a box cutter, you can, you know, if you just slice it open and then tear it apart. So, I mean, these structures can be destroyed quite easily with box cutters.
it looks impressive, but you're right. I think if the police did want to tear it down, they would have no problems.
I have a mask just like that with the skull. Maybe I should be wearing that during these broadcasts.
A few of them are wearing it, actually. That guy in front of us, too.
I wear it when in the winter here, it's for cold weather, bakla. And it's a reversible. One side's just black and the other side has a skull on it, but when it's 20 below zero here, I wear it when I'm out clearing snow.
The supply. Oh, so it's just a taxi driver honking their van in support, which got a lot of claps.
Yeah, and you had mentioned the other day that, you know, we see some of these taxi drivers come out and they're anti-students, and those seem to be like not the average taxi drivers in.
Oh, they're not real drivers. They're sent there by the bosses, you know. They just pay some extra money to show up here, honk their horns, and cause some trouble. If taxi drivers were really against this movement, you wouldn't see what we're seeing here. Sporadic drivers of 10 or 20 coming in, honking their horn and leaving after an hour, right? If taxi drivers are really pissed off against these Occupy students, they would come in the hundreds, 100 or 200 of them lined up, and they would stay here for many, many hours, right? Instead, these guys, only like 10, 20 of them, they come for an hour, honk their horns, and leave. So I was actually told by a real taxi driver, these are just troublemakers sent by our bosses because they don't like the, 20% lost revenue that they're suffering.
Right.
But what the driver told me is 80+% of drivers are willing to take a small financial hit in the short term to achieve full democracy in the long run. So they're saying, you know, cab drivers are behind you. Ignore those 10 or 20 cabs. They're just sent by the company. That doesn't represent the views of individual drivers.
Yeah, I think that, you know, there's always going to be some people in some groups that are willing to make or sacrifice what their principles are or whatever to make a quick money, or, you know, I'm sure there's people that are genuinely anti-student that drive taxis, but it's not the majority of them.
Alright. So actually, you see here, they actually have stores as well. You know, they're very well equipped here to build these structures.
And the way these students have organized themselves and cooperated with each other has been fascinating.
This organized organization, right? These are just a bunch of volunteers who showed up spontaneously. There was no plan to create these structures. People just brought bamboo and people are just helping out, right? These are regular folks just grabbing some of these Sorry? Potted plants. Potted plants. Yeah, so these are just regular people, right? Putting on gloves, bringing the plastic wrap, and just helping out. It's not some big planned, organized thing here. It's like just unlike the triads who came this afternoon. This is a genuine people movement. People just taking their time to do what they can to volunteer and help to reinforce the structures. So you can see how different the Occupy people are to the anti-Occupy, who seem a lot more coordinated and coordinated and planned, versus the Occupy protesters who seem really spontaneous, spur of the moment, and you can just see the contrast.
Yeah, it's incredible. My hope is that someday they'll learn that democracy isn't the answer and learn that they need to be asking or not asking for voting for people, and they need to just be on voluntary systems like they're doing now.
Right. So over here, barricaded it end to end. So there's no gap on this barricade.
The way I see democracy is you know, we have supposed democracy in the United States here, and it's complete shit. Because, like I always say, how can somebody represent you that you've never even met? The only one that can represent you is yourself.
Yep.
I do support more freedom over less freedom and voluntary cooperation among people, and that's why and peaceful organization like they've been doing here. So, you know, I haven't been against what they've been doing. So they haven't done anything that violates something I believe in. I think they've behaved themselves very well, actually, and I've been impressed by the cooperation that they've showed, and you know, just all the art and everything that's come out of this too.
Right. So I would say the big story for the day, just to wrap things up for everyone, is the site, main Occupy Central site, was cleared by police in the morning. A few of the barricades that were cleared, and later that afternoon, organized group of anti-Occupy protesters came by with cutters and scissors, wearing the same surgical mask, and they started hitting students, kicking students, violently acting out. And it's funny how police presence vanished at that point when these thugs came by. And as like the same pattern a few weeks back, they were allowed to do damage for half an hour or so before the majority of the police force came by to stop and separate the two parties. They almost, it's like they allow that initial confrontation to happen every single time, rather than to maintain peace and order. As a result, students have responded by building these giant elaborate structures, reinforcing all their barricades across Occupy Central, and not just reinforcing barricades, but also building more barricades that weren't here previously. So these are a bunch of resilient protest students who don't look like they're going to give up. Every time you push them down or do something against them, they just keep getting back up, regroup, and they just look stronger and stronger. So as long as public support is with them, I don't believe these students will ever give up.
Yeah, and you know, these provocateurs that come in, like it happened earlier today, it seems that the best strategy to deal with anybody is just like online trolls. is to just try to ignore them, because what they're out to do is try to get you to engage with them, and they want you to. Their main purpose to go there is to create violence, and they want to turn this into a violent protest, so the police have an excuse to go in and act violently towards the peaceful people. So the best thing to do is to ignore provocateurs and not engage in violence. And we've seen it's worked well so far.
Right, that's why the protesters have resorted to singing Happy Birthday every time there's a provocateur or a troublemaker. They smile happily and just sing Happy Birthday, and it's quite hard for the provocateur to react in a negative way when everyone's just smiling and singing back at you.
Oh, I guess I should have provoked him yesterday when it was my birthday.
Yes, happy birthday, Jamie. Actually, yesterday was Joshua Wong's 18th birthday as well, so he's no longer a 17-year-old student, but he is now an 18-year-old adult who is eligible to register to vote and vote. And that's actually something he mentioned during his speech, was to remind everyone to register to vote.
Oh, so I share a birthday with Joshua Wong.
Yes, you do.
I was here first.
Yes, no, but it does look like these students are here to stay tonight. It doesn't look like they're going to give up this spot. And that was the rally cry as well from Joshua Wong, which was, do not give up the areas. Government have been insincere in their negotiations. And we've seen that. They were very insincere today about their activities. And as a response, the students have just reinforced barricades and sent or asked others to stay here tonight.
Yeah, well,
Responded.
Wrap this up for now and come back a little bit later with an update.
Yeah, I think we'll probably be back tomorrow morning, because it doesn't look like there's going to be too much happening tonight. All the action happened in the afternoon with the organized action. I believe the night's going to be quite peaceful because there's just too many protesters out and who have remained after that giant rally that was held by Joshua Wong. There's just too many people who've stayed behind. So I do think the night will be safe, but who knows what will happen again in the morning and afternoons. But what we've seen is every time there's been an escalation from the other side, there does seem to be peace and order which follows for the next few days.
Exactly. Okay, well, let's wrap this broadcast up. Again, if you enjoyed this broadcast and can help out James and I with a Bitcoin donation, our addresses are below in the description. Help us out, pay our phone bills, and streaming this. We would appreciate it. And this is a World Crypto Network broadcast. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.